Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com. Skip's Marysville Music Cafe, with lessons, in person and personalized. Instruments including guitars and amps, horns, strings for instruments, and a myriad of music and sound equipment. Skip's Marysville Music Cafe.
Which I guess had mental health as having the grand jury having less than stellar report that they were responding to that.
Okay, so we got Andy today, huh?
Testing.
Wonder why everybody's waiting on. Okay. Board of Supervisors meeting Tuesday, September 27th. We'll let you talk about the in-person and the Zoom. Is that okay? You already be in person and Zoom. Thank you.
The board meeting will open to in-person attendance to remain in compliance with the state's public health guidance and Cal OSHA COVID-19 emergency temporary regulations. Masks will be encouraged to be worn by individuals who are not fully vaccinated while inside the government center and while in the board chambers. Zoom meeting, the board proceedings are available via Zoom, and you may participate in public comment by using the raise hand function pursuant to Government Code Section 5495.3. Local legislative bodies may hold public meetings via teleconference. Additionally, even when members of the local legislative body are attending meetings in person, the local legislative body may make public meetings accessible telephonically or otherwise electronically to all members of the public. Members of the public are encouraged to observe and participate in the teleconference.
Okay. Our Zoom's up. Addendum to the agenda and consent items to be added. Go ahead, please. All right. Pledge, Jerry, would you?
Sure. Please stand for the pledge. Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Here.
Supervisor Blazer?
Here.
Supervisor Fiera?
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford?
Here.
Supervisor Fletcher is absent.
All right. Consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine and can be enacted in one motion.
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion.
I'll second.
We have a second. All right. Now, do we have to do a roll call with this? Yes.
Yes.
All right. Roll call. Huh? Oh, public comment. Sorry about that. Any comment from the public on the consent agenda? All right. There's no comment. Any comment? Further comments from the board? All right. Roll call.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Fiera?
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford?
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher is absent.
All right. The next item is the special presentation. Received presentation from Measure K Citizens Oversight Committee regarding fiscal year 2021-22 annual report. The report we've been waiting for.
Yes, good morning, Chair, members of the board. Kevin Mallon, Yuba County Administrator, and I'm just here to introduce the chair of the committee, and excited to have the first annual report presented to the board by the committee. It's been a kind of a long time coming. The voters of Yuba County approved this measure back in 2018, and we had a long, fought battle there through the courts. And now we're able to proceed and provide the services that we wanted to provide with these funds that are now available. So I'm going to be introducing Fred Morozinski. He's chair of the Measure K committee. He has a few comments, and so that the board is aware, the report that was presented to the board, a copy of was presented to the board this morning, is also available online at the county's website. And we have it as a news feed, so you can click right on the report there. And we've also created a Measure K specific tab under the government tab of our main webpage. So, thank you.
Well, you see it there.
Good morning.
Morning.
At our church, when a telephone goes off, the people that are responsible have to buy pizza for the rest of the church. I don't know if that applies here or not, but in any case, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate the introduction. I'm pleased to be here this morning for the purpose of presenting the first annual Measure K Oversight Committee report to you. This report contains fiscal information pertaining to the revenues and expenditures of the sales tax generated by Measure K, and the committee's conclusions with regard to the use of that funding. Before going further, however, I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce Rich Webb, who's here today with us. He's the vice chairman of the committee, and I'd also like to introduce the three other members, Lori Wojan, Bill Good, and Greg Nelson, who are not with us today, but are serving faithfully in the committee. As you know, Measure K, while it became effective in April of 2019 and the revenues began to accrue at that time, expenditures were delayed due to the litigation that followed until fiscal year 21-22, when the funds were allocated by the board through the normal Board of Supervisors county allocation, budget allocation process. Your board and previous boards for many years have consistently prioritized public safety in recognition of government's primary purpose, the protection of its citizens. Limited revenues, however, often constrain the board's desire to further enhance its goal towards that end. Measure K changed that. Needless to say, a strong public safety system is the foundation for the building and supporting of a vibrant, viable, and sustainable community. It's well documented that efforts to pursue economic growth, community development, enhanced educational opportunities, and the like are thwarted by unsafe communities. Voters and taxpayers of Yuba County recognize this dynamic and supported this sales tax measure. Since its implementation, Measure K has generated over $23 million, with almost $16 million expended in fiscal year 21-22. And although this is a general tax measure, the board's continued commitment to public safety, specifically law enforcement, fire services, essential public safety functions, and other general essential supportive services, it's reflected in the allocation of these funds that you've made. 80% of the revenues allocated are earmarked specifically for Yuba County, supplementing the existing funding to the sheriff's office.
Want to delete the complete agenda. This will also delete all related data.
Are we good? Good. 80% of the revenues allocated are earmarked for Yuba County, supplementing the existing funding for the sheriff's office, the district attorney, the probation department, other general essential services, including code enforcement and other supporting departments. A total of 20% of the revenues are distributed to 9 fire districts within the county. Specific agency allocations, which are included in the report that we've submitted today, are based on an agreed distribution formula developed by the fire districts themselves. In summary, we've concluded a comprehensive review of the fiscal reports detailing these revenues and expenditures for fiscal year 21-22. And the committee is of the opinion the board's actions are consistent with both the spirit and letter of Measure K itself and the implementing county ordinance that followed. In closing, I'd like to take a moment to thank Kevin and his staff, the Auditor Controller's Office staff, for their assistance to the committee during this process. They've provided both outstanding support during our review process. They've coordinated meetings and assisted in the overall development of the detailed, informative report that we are presenting to you today. On the behalf of the committee, I'd also like to thank you for the opportunity to serve in the capacity of providing transparency, accountability, and citizens' oversight regarding the implementation of this measure to the voters and the taxpayers of Yuba County. As Kevin mentioned earlier, we've taken a lot of efforts to try to publicize the meetings, and minutes, and have a specific website on the county's general website with regard to Measure K and the Oversight Committee. So again, it provides transparency and accountability that are required through this measure. Thank you. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to provide any answers I might or to questions that you have.
Thank you very much for the hard work you put into putting together this report. I'd like to have gotten it a couple of days in advance so I could actually look at it for in depth. But any questions from the board at this point?
No questions. Just wanted to echo your thanks to the committee for your hard work on this and helping get this information out to the public. I think it's really important that they have the ability to see how we're spending this money. So it's their money and they have a right to see how it's being spent.
Exactly. Thank you.
All right. Any further questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Okay. We have Charles Sharp. Okay. You want to come up here? We'd have consulted you first.
Hello.
There we
Thank
go.
you. Good morning, gentlemen. I'm Charles Sharp. I'm from Oregon House. I applied for this committee, and then it came to Kevin Mallon sat up here and he said something like, "Oh, we don't have anybody from the foothills, or we don't have enough people," or something like that. So basically, they were saying, "Well, we don't really want to consider this person. That's me. So let's move on and have another iteration and go out and get more people to see who they can sign up." And this gentleman and the other ones got signed up. So I was kind of just passed over. And anyway, this Measure K committee is looking at what the county has already spent. It's already spent. And they're looking and said, yes, what you've spent is the right thing, and you did what you're supposed to do. So that's what the committee is really there for, is to kind of agree with how the county had spent the money from a public committee point of view. Anyway, that's just my opinion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any further questions from the public? Okay. Well, there's no vote on this. So thank you very much for your hard work.
Appreciate it.
Thank the committee. All right. What do we got here next? No. Huh? County departments. Okay, I'm sorry. Public communications. All right. Yeah, sorry. Lost my agenda. Okay, public communications. Do we have any cards?
Yes. You want me to
Okay.
take this off? Any person may speak about any subject of concern, provided it is within the jurisdiction of the Board of Supervisors and is not already on today's agenda. The total amount of time allotted for receiving such public communication shall be limited to a total of 15 minutes, and each individual or group will be limited to no more than 3 minutes. Prior to this time, speakers are requested to fill out a request to speak card and submit it to the clerk of the Board of Supervisors. If you're participating via Zoom and wish to comment, please use the raise hand function or *9 if participating on a phone. Please note, no board action can be taken on comments made under this heading. We have 3 cards and no hands raised on Zoom. The first person is Leslie Clarkson.
Morning. It's good to see you all today. I'm here to talk about the Sutter County Grand Jury Report, which came out in June of 2022.
We need your name for the record.
My name is Leslie Clarkson. I'm the chair of the Sutter Yuba Behavioral Health Advisory Board. We represent the clients and stakeholders of Sutter and Yuba County in dealing with mental health department and the services that are provided by that department. The grand jury report was based on that department. There's a lot of issues raised, and most of the work that happens at the department happens in Sutter County. Because the facilities in Sutter County, often we don't get a lot of representation from Yuba County, and that's what we're looking for today. There's ligature issues, and what that means is that in the psychiatric health facility, which is the emergency lockdown, there's places where people might cause harm to themselves. 2 years ago, that department did a complete renovation. So I'm sure that they're aware of what needs to be done. And I have faith that they're doing what needs to be done with that part of the department. Sutter County is the property owners, and any further maintenance will happen through them. But this county also benefits from the services, and we need Yuba County to help direct the maintenance of these services. As to the issues raised concerning the budget, the board understands that progress has been made. The board will send at least 1 member to any future steering committee meeting. We expect to see a more complete budget within the next quarter. It's not so much that there's a budget, it's more about the vast amount of unallocated funds and the fact that the facility is not being maintained properly and the funds are available. This is the one issue that we're having the most problem with, because the budget has been managed this way for so long. It's difficult there's a lot of pushback. So I'm asking everyone to please read the grand jury report. Look at the different scales and look at what they call a budget, because summaries are in there. And we really do need your help. The relationship between these two counties adds resonance to everything you do. We have an opportunity to make a big difference, but the time is now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Seth, are you on the behavioral health committee? Sorry. Can we talk to her and possibly bring an item before the board in discussing our?
Absolutely. I believe Evan Mallon is already working on this particular issue. And so I imagine it's going to be reported at some point soon in regards to what the resolution was. I assume it's still in process, or have we reached any kind of goals?
So we have a group of county departments, including my own, the county administrator's office and county counsel's office, evaluating the contractual arrangements between the two counties related to behavioral health services, as well as the services provided currently, revenue sources available for those services, et cetera. We'll bring back a comprehensive report in the near future.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Do we have another card?
Second card is for Heather Esman.
Good morning. This is my first time on this side of the county. I'm usually over on the other side making a ruckus. Anyway, so my name is Heather Esman. I'm also a recently appointed board member to the Sutter Yuba Behavioral Health Advisory Board. So I'm speaking on my own behalf. I always make that known because I don't want to get anybody into any trouble. I do wanted to make a few comments today. The first is basically participation on the board itself. So Sutter County is doing a good job. I am a family representative. I was just came in May. We also have a consumer representative, and I think there's one more opening on our side, but our board of Supervisor Baines attends regularly, even attended a steering commission meeting. Unfortunately, Yuba County participation seems to be lacking. This is the first time I've actually seen him. I didn't know that was who he is. He, I believe, is your representative for the board. Has not attended any of the meetings the last 3 times. May have been some particular reason why, but there is, according to what I've read, an alternate from this board that should be in attendance when he's not available. And it would be greatly appreciated, particularly because we were talking about the grand jury report the last few months. If we could get this board to participate on a regular basis, that participation also would include getting more of the consumer and family representative positions, or I don't know if it's called a position, filled on your county side, because there seems to be those empty slots for some time on your side. I also wanted you to know that I visited the facility that was in question on the grand jury report. And thank you to Rick Bingham he gave me a personal tour, showed me some of the things, and I didn't agree necessarily with the grand jury report on some instances. I don't understand how somebody could use a toilet pipe to consider that a ligature point. I wouldn't understand how that would work, but there are certain things, for example, the shower heads, clearly they have different types of shower heads, and the shower heads that they had were not okay, but they were working on that, as well as some of the other things that were in the report. And I'm somebody who's a bit more fiscally minded, so I plan on working with the board and with the budget to see if we can come up with some potential changes in the future. But I urge you to have more participation in the board. It is a state mandated requirement for you. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Next card.
Lastly, we have Charles Sharp.
Morning, Charles Sharp, Oregon House. First, I would like to thank Supervisor Bradford for the wonderful post about his visit to Artesian Lavinia at the end of Stackhouse Lane in Oregon House. We're going to have to hire him as a foothill public relations consultant. Now we are into public comment period. When you sit stoic-faced and listen to comments, you are probably not so enthusiastic to hear. However, stoic-faced is how the ordinance reads, so that is how we must be. Today, for your amusement, I have a jar of molasses. Actually, it's a Manuka honey, pretending to be the molasses because I didn't have any molasses around. Molasses and honey are thick, vicious, and slow-moving, like Yuba County is when processing small divisions that take 300 days and which still are stuck in the assessor's office. Another example, to my surprise, it turns out that the alcoholic beverage and beverage control people require a public notice of convenience letter for a wine bar application in the 411 census tract. As it turns out, only one such establishment is principally allowed by the county. However, there are already two such establishments. Anyway, the county says this letter that the ABC would need will take 3 months to process. The molasses factor is coming up the works again. I do realize there is little the supervisors can do as the molasses factor is controlled by the county administrator. I'm sure if you ask your administrator how efficient Yuba County is, he will say 100% efficient. We are going as fast as we can. And he's right. As you have no metric to measure the molasses factor, it is always going to be 100% gummed up. Thank you. Oh, thank you for your time.
We thank you as always, Charles. Any further cards? Any further comments from the public? All right. County departments. Health and Human Services approve agreement with Yuba County Office of Education for a school-based wellness center at Lyndhurst High School.
Hi, good morning, Chair and members of the board. I'm Melissa Shaw, Program Manager with Health and Human Services Public Health Division. Today, I bring forward an agreement between Yuba County Health and Human Services and Yuba County Office of Education for your approval. Utilizing public health workforce development funding, Health and Human Services would like to support Yuba County Office of Education in the implementation and operation of a school-based wellness center located at Lyndhurst High School. This is a collaborative initiative involving 4 entities: Yuba County Office of Education, Marysville Joint Unified School District, Peachtree Health, and Yuba County Health and Human Services. Yuba County Office of Education will utilize the funding to create a space at Lyndhurst High School conducive to a wellness center. The funding allows the Office of Education to provide positions such as social emotional learning coordinators, specialists, assistants, and outreach liaisons to run the day-to-day operations of a wellness center. To confirm the need for this, Yuba County Office of Education partnered with Lyndhurst High School to distribute a survey to parents and students to assess their willingness to utilize a wellness center. The survey asked both parents and students which types of services are needed. Much to our delight, the response was robust and enlightening. 253 Lyndhurst students and 137 parents and guardians responded to the survey. Both students and parents had the same top 2 areas of concern. Both parents and students listed anxiety as their primary concern, and self-esteem was listed as their second top area of concern. 68% of parents responded that they would like their student to have access to mental health counseling at school. Even more encouraging were the students. About 35% reported that they would like mental health counseling services offered at school and that they would seek help from a mental health therapist if one was available at school. By utilizing the public health workforce development funds, Yuba County Office of Education will be able to provide several great and beneficial services to Lyndhurst High School students. They will provide support in dealing with anxiety, depression, and substance use. They will partner with Peachtree Health to offer professional mental health therapy on site by a Peachtree Health therapist, navigation and help accessing benefits from a Yuba County public health social worker, such as CalWorks, CalFresh, Medi-Cal, and housing and stabilization services, and nutrition and oral health education from Yuba County Office of Education and Health and Human Services. The Community Wellness Center has a couple of goals. Our focus, based from the survey results, is to remove barriers that impede access to youth seeking behavioral health services. The Wellness Center also aims to embed acceptance of behavioral health and wellness in the educational environment. It is our hope that the Wellness Center, through addressing anxiety, depression, and behavioral health matters, which cause absences from school, that attendance at Lyndhurst High School will improve. In conclusion, we ask the Board of Supervisors to approve the agreement between Yuba County Health and Human Services and Yuba County Office of Education to support a community wellness center at Lyndhurst High School. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, any questions from the board?
You're the chair. Just curious, what is currently in place for these services?
At the school?
At the school, yeah.
I think Yuba County Office of Education or Marysville Joint Unified School District could answer that more appropriate. I know that the school has school counselors. I'm just unsure if they're at the school 24/7 or if they share sites. Bobby Abald, the Assistant Superintendent of Instruction with Yuba County Office of Ed, could shed light on that.
I think you're on the other.
Superintendent of Instruction for Yuba County Office of Education. Thank you very much. This has been such an amazing partnership to bring these services to Lyndhurst High School and their students and their community. Currently, there are counselors on site, and then also there are tiered levels of services available to students. But what we have found through informal and more formal surveying is that they're not accessing the services that are there for them. So one of the main functions of the Wellness Center model is to have it become part of the school community where we know our students are every day for a great deal of their day. So it will just be something that is increasing the level of access and familiarity, as well as reducing the stigma against getting those services. So we will even have clinicians on site through our partnerships. So instead of students having to go and their families get them all the way over to Yuba City and access those bi-county behavioral services, they'll be right there and will just be part of their everyday family. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, that helps a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any further questions from the board?
You mentioned anxiety and self-esteem were the issues. Can you give me an example of what kind of programs specifically will be happening to deal with those particular issues?
In addition to the behavioral health therapist on site, I think we have some ideas on what we'd like to see the Wellness Center grow into, such as support groups. Do you have any?
Well, yes, it will be, if you think about a pyramid model, it's one of my favorite models. I kind of apply it to everything with 3 tiers in those services. So tier 1 is something that is for every student every day. So supporting teachers and all of the staff, whether it's the person serving food or the custodial staff, the bus driver, giving them the tools to interact with students in a very restorative and supportive fashion. In every classroom, teaching social emotional learning skills, which are more like coping mechanisms and awareness. And then tier 2 services, some counseling groups. I always get them confused. Girls Circle, Boys Council. Yes, okay. And so some small group structures that identified students. You know, a teacher knows that Billy's having difficulty at home and is stressed about it. Maybe a parent has lost their job, up to even more severe consequences that are going on in families. You know, they may have lost their home in a fire or been evicted or something like that, or a parent incarcerated. Then there can be those one-on-one interactions in even smaller group counseling setting. And then also having things happen right there in the center. So there are different layers and tiers of what a wellness center looks like, all from them just being a calming center or a calming room, kind of the Zen thing, where youth can go in and they can relax and chill and know it's a safe place, free from bullying, free from people checking out their outfits or their hair, just a really warm and accepting place. And then all the way up to tier 3, where we're engaging them in clinical support and therapy services as well too. So we're going to be reaching out to all of our partners across the county and even into Sutter County as well too, because we have so many bi-county partnerships in place. So it's going to be kind of a one-stop shop for everything, really based on individual needs that we see from individual students and their families, also small cluster groups, larger groups. So just kind of depending on the continual data that we collect and we analyze as a team. We're meeting at least monthly now as a project team with representation from each of the partners. And then we'll just kind of shape it as we go, depending on the feedback and data that we get. Again, I hope I answered your question. I'm passionate about it. I love the work. We've got such great partnerships. So I apologize if I wasn't very direct in my answer and kind of more global.
Okay. Any further questions from the board? I have a question. Are there any other schools currently in the California school system that are doing this project?
Yes. Across California, there are many. There are a lot of county offices that are partnering with their school districts to do this. I believe that some of our staff had just attended a conference and connected with Ventura County, and I believe they have 47 wellness centers. And also I know that Wheatland High School has also recently opened a community wellness center as well too. So.
Okay, so you're communicating with those schools, and we're
Definitely.
not reinventing the wheel here.
No, but we're inventing our unique local wheel based on our local context.
I understand.
Yes.
Let's
yes,
benefit
very research based and being implemented across the state.
Okay, all right. Any comments from the public? Okay. We'll bring it back to the board for motion.
I so move.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Vasquez,
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer,
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer,
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford,
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher is absent. Motion passes.
Okay. Item 472. Thank you very much for your hard work. Appreciate it. County administrator adopt resolution authorizing county administrator to is designated to enter an agreement with Yuba-Sutter Arts and Culture. Okay. That's
Sorry about that. Did we bounce ahead there? For some reason, I thought we had item 468 and 491 coming up.
468, 491. Didn't we have 472?
Oh, it bumped up? All right.
Oh. All right.
So, sorry about that. I was looking at the unamended agenda and thinking we had 2 more items before mine. So good morning, board. Kevin Mellon, Yuba County Administrator. The item before you today, so we have a long-term relationship with Yuba-Sutter Arts and Culture. It's over 40 years that Yuba County has designated Yuba-Sutter Arts and Culture as our official partner in regards to arts and culture. But as the board may recall, there's typically a resolution that's adopted annually so that there's funding available to provide programming in our area. And so and also typical is Yuba-Sutter Arts and Culture to annually request funding from the board to help support those efforts. And so what's before you today is pulling things together into a comprehensive agreement so that it's memorialized moving forward, that long-term relationship, and outlining it essentially like a scope of work, that things that the county is pledging to, as well as what the arts and culture organization is pledging to. And one of the items that's in there that also ties into another activity that the board has developed over the last few years is our Historic Resource Commission. That was a commission that was created by the board to help inform the board on things of importance in our community that we should be preserving. Are there projects out there to promote our historic resources? But what isn't in that commission though was really how to implement those types of projects. So we've pulled that together in this agreement where the Yuba-Sutter Arts and Culture would also be the implementing mechanism for projects brought forward to the board by the Historic Resources Commission. And so the agreement that's before you today represents not only their typical ask of funding, but also an additional amount of funds that would cover projects contemplated by the Historic Resources Commission. So the agreement today would, for fiscal year 22-23, would allocate $15,000 to Yuba-Sutter Arts and Culture to not only accomplish what they've been accomplishing for decades, but also to assist with implementation of projects brought forward to the board by the Historic Resources Commission. And we have David Reed, the Executive Director of Yuba-Sutter Arts and Culture here, if you have any specific questions, as well as myself. With that, happy to answer any questions.
All right, I think this is on. Okay. Well, I think this is great because Marysville is coming around and there's so much more potential and opportunities. And so focusing more and more on really the base of Marysville, which is historic, I think this is really a good idea. And I think with Yuba-Sutter Arts kind of leading this, I think that's going to be really good for Marysville and the county.
All right.
No question, more of a statement. Okay.
No, I don't think so at this point. I think the way that this is structured, it is focused on Yuba County, and with the improvements to the borough center, I think we're going to see a little more activity focused around Yuba County. So that would be good.
Any further questions?
Is that good?
Yes, thank you.
Are you done? Any questions? No? Okay. All right. Any questions from the public? All right. We'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
I believe there was a card on this one.
Okay.
We have 2 cards for comment. The first is from Sandra Mallon.
Good morning, Board Chair. Sandra Mallon, Marysville. I oppose this resolution. These are my tax dollars. I don't want to support any organization who restricts my rights. During the social experiment, they required a vaccine or a test. I don't trust the chemicals in either of them. I'm entrusted with a body God gave me. I have to be okay what goes into that temple. Yuba-Sutter Arts Council is basically attacking my religious freedoms. And yet you are handing them 15 grand of our taxpayers' money. Please vote no until they make a resolution where they will not require unconstitutional or controversial procedures. Give the 15 grand to the Yuba County Sheriff's Department. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further cards?
The second card is for Donna Wahlberg.
Donna Wahlberg, residing in Browns Valley presently. I love what the arts and culture Yuba-Sutter Arts and Culture is doing. My only request is that if you're going to approve this agreement, that you include a provision that that the organization be in compliance with the United States Constitution and not mandate masks or vaccines or anything that would infringe upon someone's personal freedom, because they did that in the past, and even when it wasn't really, recommended by the public health officials. So I am totally opposed to that. If you put that provision in there, I'm fine with it. But please protect our rights, protect our freedoms. Make sure those that choose not to be vaccinated are not discriminated against for not showing a proof of vaccine or submitting themselves to a test. And so that is my comment, and I hope you will add that to the memorandum of understanding. Thank you very much, Tim.
Thank you. All right. Any further cards? Okay. We'll bring it back to the board for comments and recommendations.
If we can, just one quick clarification. My understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is currently there is no mandate by the Arts Council for masks or vaccination. That issue has been resolved positively. And so there was an issue in the past. It is gone and over, and we're building bridges to the future. Is that accurate? Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. With that being said, is that a motion?
I'll move to approve. Or
all right, roll call, please.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer?
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford?
yes.
Supervisor Fletcher is absent. Motion passes.
Thank you. All right. Item number 468, Health and Human Services approve agreement with Yuba County Office of Education for a GED prep program for California Work Opportunity and Responsibility for CalWorks. Huh? Okay.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair and members of the board. My name is Courtney Pice, and I am the Program Manager of the Employment Services Division in the Health and Human Services Department. I'm coming before you today to request that you consider approving the agreement between Yuba County Health and Human Services and the Yuba County Office of Education for GED preparation courses at the One Stop. This agreement establishes a GED instructor, GED instructional curriculum and material, a classroom setting for CalWorks Welfare to Work participants to study and prepare for passing the General Education Development Tests. The importance of this agreement is it sets a foundation for CalWorks participants' path to self-sufficiency. Earning a GED is more than a credential received. It can be a far-reaching goal for a participant that turns into a momentous accomplishment. Setting and achieving goals helps our CalWorks participants build and increase their executive functioning skills while gaining self-confidence and a sense of achievement. There are many benefits a participant will gain with this accomplishment. Better chances of furthering their education through college, technical, or trade schools, improving their self-esteem and building confidence, more job opportunities and better qualified for jobs, and of course, higher earnings, so they're off cash aid and becoming self-sufficient. With this partnership, we certify that services for CalWorks participants are empathetic, integrated, and accessible. The cost is $75,161 per year for a 3-year agreement. There's no general funding, and the funding source is state and federal. I would like you to approve this agreement with Yuba County Office of Education. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board? No questions from the board? All right. I have one question. I have a statement. This is really very beneficial for our kids in the gap that our school system leaves between college and the high school. Unfortunately, we're not doing the best in the world for trying to educate some of these kids. Are you also getting involved with the union trade school out there? It's my understanding that you're also involved with that.
Yes, yeah, we're trying to bring those partners in,
okay.
And collaborating with those higher education facilities, to include, of course, Yuba College.
Well, because the The next nearest union school, I think, is in Dublin. And it's a pretty good situation having a union trade school out here. It'll provides a gap in the trade industry. All right. We'll bring it back. Any questions from the public? All right, bring it back to the board for a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer?
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford?
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher is absent. Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, 491, Sheriff Corner. Approved memorandum of understanding with Yuba County Office of Education. Along the same lines as the previous item. Yeah.
I see a theme here. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. I'm Nick Morzinski, the Undersheriff for the Yuba County Sheriff's Department. This morning, we are asking you to approve the MOU with the Yuba County Office of Education to provide educational programs to our inmates that are in custody at the Yuba County Jail for the fiscal year of 22-23. This is an annual agreement that we have with the Office of Education. It's been a great partnership that we've had for over 20 years, and just a great program that provides an avenue for our inmates and detainees that are in custody to get a higher education and to just better themselves and better prepare as they enter back into our community. We put together some stats from last year, which are pretty impressive. For fiscal year 21-22, we had over 4,500 hours of education that was provided to the inmates in our custody. And happy to say we had 92 actually received their GEDs and high school diplomas. So that's 92 men and women that were in custody that come back out into the community better suited to contribute to the community that we have. So it's just been a wonderful program and a great partnership with the Office of Education. And with that, I'll take any questions from you guys.
Any questions for the board? I have one question.
Yes,
How
sir.
many other jails go this far in training the inmates?
Well, I think it's a fairly common program within the jails throughout the state of California. But when I saw the number of 92, honestly, prior to this presentation, I wasn't aware of that exact number, and that was really impressive to me myself as well. So I'm very proud of that partnership and what we've been able to do.
I hope the paper picks this up. You know, they always pick up the bad stories, but apparently Yuba County jails always had programs for inmates that other jails don't. So.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And the pandemic has created some difficulties with that. We have a tablet-based program now where we're able to offer that education through a tablet system. But we are going to be now, as some of these regulations are lightening up a little bit, as we're getting through this, we're bringing back in person into the jail as well.
Well, thanks staff for their effort
absolutely
in keeping the programs running in Yuba County. You know, too many times everybody has problems, nobody has solutions. It seems that Yuba County is the exact opposite. Any questions from the public? Okay, bring it back to the board.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer?
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford?
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher is absent. Motion passes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. All right. Item 492, recommendation nomination of representative and alternate to CSAC Board of Directors. All right. Is anybody gonna?
There really isn't much of a presentation on this other than there was a letter from CSAC. There's the annual conference coming up in November. They would like to know who is going to be the representative for Yuba County at the CSAC conference in November, as well as through 2023. And then there's an option to have alternates as well.
Okay. Well, I'm
through the chair. So I'm the current CSAC representative. I really enjoy that position, but with the hopefully with the blessing of the board and with next year's chair, I hope to be able to represent Yuba County on the RCRC board, which is a significant time commitment. So given that, I think this is a great opportunity for an alternate board member from our board to represent the county on CSAC. And I think Don Blazer would be a great fit for that. And I would certainly motion for him to be, if he's interested, to be the representative.
The question is, Don, would you?
Alternate?
No, you're primary.
The primary?
Yes, I think I'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'd make that motion then.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Do I need a second?
Yeah.
Well, somebody want to give a second?
Are we doing an alternate as well, or just the
separately?
We're just doing the primary right now.
Okay,
we do that.
I so second.
Thanks.
All right, roll call.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer?
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer?
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford?
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher is absent. Motion passes.
Okay, and I think the alternate, if we have we work on a calendar year for committees, and I think if we leave that blank, we're okay. Or is that how? Or do we want to put a board member on?
If I believe if the board takes no action at this point, then whoever's serving as alternate will remain as alternate.
Okay. Does Seth want to?
Because they were, yeah, that for the calendar year, they would remain the alternate because I believe they serve until their successor is appointed.
Okay. All right. So we'll leave it that way, and you don't need a further vote. That's it. All right. Item 493, Auditor Controller. Adopt a resolution establishing the Yuba County budget for fiscal year 2022 and 23.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. You're probably wondering why we're here talking about the budget again for 2023. A couple of reasons. There are two main reasons why we're doing this. First one is Government Code Section 29000, and a number of other ones, specifies that the budget must be adopted by resolution. And so the resolution to adopt the 2023 budget is before you today, and ask for your approval on that. And the second part of that is when I first came on as auditor controller with the county administrator asked that I present the resolution to the board. And so the county administrator compiled the budget and presented the information on the expenditures to the board. And then I brought the resolution to the board at the next meeting. So we've been doing that for the last 10 years. So that's the reason why we're talking about the budget today. I have a brief presentation that I have to share with you. Again, I promise it's brief. And if I can, fair point. I need to share. Do I need to share the screen?
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay. That's there. That's right. Okay. So, thank you so very much. As I said, the resolution for you is about the 2023 budget resolution. And I took, in each of the presentations I've done in the past, I've taken the opportunity to present the budget information in a different light. So the first thing I want to discuss is first part of the expenditures breakdown. And again, you have the information in the packet that I presented to you as well as part of the exhibits to the budget. And this talks about the total overall expenditures for the county broken into various categories. And these are categories that typically get reported to by with our audited financial statements and to the state. And so this represents, again, just where those expenditures are taking place that you approved last week. And the next slide, we continue with that by saying the total operating expenditures, as you can see, there was $305 million, but we add to that appropriations for contingencies and reserves, which is a representation of good fiscal policy for the county and also good fiscal health. And this has helped us achieve an A+ rating with the Standard & Poor's for our credit rating for any debt that we'd like to issue. And this is a couple of years ago, but it was kind of a feather in our cap as to coming from where we were at the beginning of the economic downturn to where we are now. We've achieved some significant financial policies and goals that highlight our good financial responsibility and the good use of the resources that the public has entrusted to us. We add another item to that list was the encumbrances. just as a quick note, the encumbrances are expenditures that were approved by your board for the 21-22 fiscal year, but that were not fully realized. So these are carryover expenditures that exist that had not been expended but were approved last year, but they're going to get expended this year. So I included that, and that's where we get to the $308 million, which you saw last year for governmental funds. What I thought I'd add here is on the next slide is the representation of the revenues. So this is where your board gets the money that it uses to fund the expenditures from the previous slide. Again, the taxes and the fines and forfeitures and the interest are the main sources of revenue for that the board has discretion over. As you can see, that amounts to not a whole lot in comparison to the overall county budget. Intergovernmental revenue is again, as you can see, the largest source of revenue for the county, and that's revenue that comes from the state and federal government and potentially some other governmental agencies, but that comes with a lot of strings attached. So the money that's there cannot be spent on just anything that we would wish. There's some specific programs or specific requirements that need to be met in order to spend those funds. Charges for services are typically used for cost recovery. Same for licenses and permits. They're intended for cost recovery for the services provided by the county. And then the transfers in and other financing sources are typically just transfers, uses of resources that have been set aside in previous years in the current budget. And then in the last slide, we talked about, so that as we saw, the total appropriations for the county were budgeted $308 million. The county budgeted revenue is $284, which leaves a shortfall of $23 million. That $23 million is made up from what we call fund balance, which is unspent resources from previous years. So as we've heard, and as the county administrator's office so eloquently stated last board meeting, those resources are come from the Measure K money being unrestricted, and the stuff like the PG&E legal settlement and other resources that the county has not spent in previous years that are freed up and able to be used for this year. So in this vein, again, as I said before, I presented this information in a format where it breaks down the revenues and the expenditures in different categories in a different format and different context than was presented last week. And I present this information to you in a resolution for your approval. And I'll entertain any questions you might have.
Any questions for the board? No. There being none, any questions from the public? Charles? Bring back your slide, please.
Hello, Charles Sharp. So he mentioned Measure K as being unrestricted. Well, the pitch to the voters was when they were going to get it through, half would go to the fire and half would go to law enforcement. But turns out it's unrestricted. So it's up to the county to spend it however they want. That's my point. Thank you.
Mr. Sharp, thank you for bringing that up. When I said unrestricted, what happened when we first passed the Measure K resolution and then it was contested legally, I made the decision and I recommended to the county supervisor, or the board of supervisors and the CAO, that we set that money aside and hold it and not spend it until the termination of the legal of the court case. Once it was, and for that reason, I determined it as restricted, because as the auditor control, I put that money set aside so we didn't spend it in the event that, pending the outcome, obviously, of the court case. So once that restriction was lifted, so we were able to use that.
The court case and everything was resolved, and then it became available to be spent as
correct, as directed by the board of supervisors.
Well, thank you for the clarification.
No problem.
No, didn't go for it. All right. Thank you very much. I'll entertain a motion. We ask for public comment.
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion. Need a second? Wait. Hello, Don. Is second? Is it a second? You made the motion.
Oh, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Yes.
Supervisor Blazer? Supervisor Fuhrer?
No.
Supervisor Bradford?
Yes.
Supervisor Fletcher is absent. Motion passes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Correspondence, nothing of any significance. Board staff member reports. Don.
Last night we had a forum for the Marysville councilmen. It was well attended. A few new things came to light. It looks like the B Street project is moving along well. So it looks pretty encouraging for Marysville. Thanks.
Okay. Things in Olivehurst are going well. We have lots of stuff in Yes to Yuba happening. We are changing our location for our food bank distribution. It'll be at Feather River Baptist Church. So lots of stuff happening. It's very exciting.
Okay. Gary?
So I just wanted to point out what the clerk read under the in-person meeting and the language that's on the agenda with respect to recommending masks in the board chambers. If that is no longer relevant, which I believe it's not, if we can have maybe legal counsel weigh in on it, if those restrictions are still in place, and if they are not, if we can clean up that language to be more appropriate, then I'd appreciate it.
I think the board took a vote and made it optional. So regardless of what.
We're on top of it, though.
Okay.
Yeah, council reviewed the language before it was published this time around, and we'll continue to do that and work with Human Resources, who's been on top of that particular issue.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, I don't really have a lot to say. It's been an eventful week with an accident and a water heater blow up, but other than that, nothing really has happened in my life. But you know. All right. County Council, me?
Nothing. Thank you, sir.
Kevin?
I just wanted to remind the board, we have our county-wide appreciation barbecue, picnic, whatever you want to call it, coming up next Friday, October 7th,
right.
Down at in the River Bottoms, Marysville Pavilion area there. We have not had it since 2019. And so this is exciting to resume that event. And we're going to have it from 11:30 to 1:30. It'll be, and we do it over a 2-hour period so that staff have the opportunity to come and enjoy a little food. It's not so that staff can be there for 2 hours, but it's so that we can have, if need be, staff can alternate, depending on a department that maybe you can't, leave people unattended, like, for example, over at the jail. We are encouraging staff participation and I wanted to bring it to the board's attention. I've asked for some consistency from departments that are able to close during the lunch period, that they close from 11:30 to 1, so that way it gives a little bit of travel time there for staff to travel over, enjoy the festivities, and travel back. And so I wanted to make sure the board was aware of that, and that's, I guess, our big event, and invite all 5 board members to come and attend and enjoy, a social event with our staff, show a little appreciation.
Are they going to do a homeless sweep first?
It's usually a pretty nice area down there at the pavilion, especially, and we pick this time of year because usually the weather is nice.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, a little rain isn't such a bad thing in California, but we usually have that particular day usually stays dry and is not too hot.
All right. We'll go to closed session. We have the 2 items. Conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Government Code 54956.9D, one more versus County of Yuba et al. Conference with labor negotiations with Jill Abel. Yeah. So we'll go to closed session at this time. We'll take a 5-minute break here.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com. Skip's Marysville Music Cafe with lessons in person and personalized. Instruments including guitars and amps, horns, strings for instruments, and a myriad of music and sound equipment. Skip's Marysville Music Cafe.